When we talk about sustainability, it's always good to first think about what we mean with that. And sustainability seems to be a simple word, to sustain something, but what we want to sustain or want to make sustainable is life on Earth. We want to secure it is sustainable. And in 2050, not in 2010 as this slide says, we have 9 billion or maybe 10 billion people, but just one globe. And the United Nations have therefore formulated the so-called 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Goals that we should achieve to maintain a sustainable Earth, a sustainable planet for people, for current and future generations. And many of these sustainable dietary goals are sustainable development goals are related to food, nutrition and health. And I'm quite sure that you have seen some of these sustainable development goals before. Poverty has to do with sustainability. Hunger has to do with food. Good health and well-being have to do with food. Sustainable or circular consumption and production have to do with it. Water, life, the use of the earth, etc. Sustainability is quite a wide concept. And what do we mean when we talk about it? Well, there are in fact two definitions on sustainability. One is the narrow definition, which in fact relates to environmental protection. Then we talk about issues like the greenhouse gas emissions, the use of land, fossil fuel use in this carbon age, use of nitrogen in agriculture, phosphorus, water, acidification of the oceans or of the seas or of the rivers. Things like that are all in the domain of the environmental protection, environmental sustainability. It's related to what you see here in these three circles of the Sustainable Development Goals, the part of the biosphere. But there are also broader definitions, and those are the definitions that the United Nations use, where they say it's not only the environmental sustainability, so the carrying capacity of the Earth, related to the issues I mentioned before, but it's also the social and economic part. And the social part includes health and dietary quality, the socioeconomic disparities that we see all around the world, but also within countries. And that have to do with, for instance, the affordability, can you buy your food, either, and the global disparities as well in countries. Well, we know there are big income differences in the so-called high and low and medium income countries. But there's also another economic component which has to do with the livelihood of farmers all around the world, with the food security, the production volumes, trade, transport, logistic, availability and access to food. So, and that those three components, environmental, social and economic, they are all part of the broader definition of sustainability used by the United Nations. For the presentation today, I will focus on a specific, on a more specific definition of sustainability. That's where sustainability relates to the diet. And FAO in 2010 has defined a sustainable diet as indicated on this slide. And they are those diets with the low environmental impact. You heard that before, that's the environmental side, that contribute to food and nutrition security. There we have the economic side, I would say, and to a healthy life. And there we have the nutritional and health side. And then the specific thing for sustainability is that it's not only for present generations. When it was only for the current generations, we could talk about public health, but it's also about the future generations. And the future generations really brings into the aspect of sustainability, because sustainability is sometimes defined as a solidarity of us as current generations with our future generations. And when you think about sustainability from these three angles, then sustainable diets have been defined as diets that are protective and respectful of biodiversity and ecosystems. You might label this as planetary health. They are culturally acceptable, accessible, economically fair and affordable. This has a lot to do with public health. And they are nutritionally adequate, safe and healthy, which has to do with the nutritional health or the personal health. And they do so by optimizing natural and human resources. And that makes it quite interesting, because here you see the same three dimensions as I mentioned in the previous slide. The personal health and well-being for me and my family, the personal side. The public health and equity for all people, the solidarity with current generations. And in the right lower corner, the planetary health for biodiversity and for the future generations. So you see all three dimensions, from a very small individual to the global, but also from the current to the future. And in the middle are the foods and diet from our environment. But you can hardly, or it's hard, to combine the three objectives to have both personal health and public health and planetary health at the same time. There are trade-offs between the three, and we have to decide and to think about which one to weigh most heavily. And I think there is one of the key challenges of today when we talk about healthy and sustainable diet.